Hello, this is John with Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, and welcome to the High Five. This is actually the last High Five, but don't worry, next week we're just rebranding the name of the video. We're going to name it the Stormwatch. We're going to do something a little bit different with this week's picks. What we're going to do is we're going to break them into categories of DC, Independent, and Marvel, and we're going to do a top 3 for each one. So let's get started with DC Comics. Coming in at number 3 is Batman and the Scooby-Doo Mysteries. This one is a pure nostalgia trip. Recently, I've introduced my son Avery to the Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Cartoon. He's really enjoying it. I'm hoping that we read this one to him this week, and maybe we'll get a video review from him, and we'll post that one up on the store YouTube. One of the things that the Scooby-Doo cartoon was known for was the guest appearances. Who can forget the Globetrotters and Phyllis Diller having stopped by with the Mystery Gang? Plus, not only is this a nostalgic story, it's also a nostalgic price, as it is priced at $2.99. So if you're a Scooby-Doo fan, if you're a Batman fan, this is one you may want to check out. And that brings us to number 2 in the DC category, and that is Batman the Detective number 1. This one has a phenomenal creative team of Tom Taylor. He's teaming with Andy Kubert. In this one, Batman is lured to the UK to solve a mystery that is very personal to him. This is a 6-parter, so it's not a huge investment on your part. Sometimes Batman is best in these little 6-issue arcs. Even better about this one is if you are a collector of first appearances, if you like big events like that, there is a new villain in this one called Equilibrium. So I'm sure that, this one's going to have a big impact on the Batman universe. So you may want to check this one out, add it to your list. As always, Batman's always a popular character, so check this one out. And that brings us to number 1, and that is Joker number 2. Usually I try and use the high five to highlight some new story arcs, new characters. This one does have a new character in it. It has a legacy character passing on the mantle to someone else. I'm not going to spoil who or what that is. This one also has a great creative team with James Tynion IV and Guillaume March. Guillaume March is one of the artists that I feel is drastically underrated in comics right now. Mirka Andolfo does the backup story, the art for the Punchline story. Also, the first issue for this one was very good, so I'm very interested to see where this goes. Joker was very much in the background. I was very scared that the first issue was going to be Joker on every page doing Joker things. Instead, he was more of a lurking menace. It also involved Gordon being coerced into hunting down the Joker. There's a lot of interpersonal relationships in this one that I think really helps fuel that intensity with the Joker. I think too much Joker does the over-the-top stuff. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that he's a menace that is very threatening on a psychological level as well as the physical level. And that brings us to our second category. We're going to cover the independents next. So this is the top 3 for the independent books. So coming in at number 3 is Home number 1. Now, I will say as a warning for this one, it is very political, so it may not be up everyone's alley. I know some people will enjoy it, some people won't. I just wanted to throw that out there as a warning first. It is from Image Comics. In this one, a young boy is trying to seek asylum in the United States. As he is torn away from his mother, the trauma sets off superhero powers within him. Obviously, this one is kind of topical with the events of today. I know some people may not want to read it because it is topical, that they try and use comics as an escape. As I tell everyone, I try and distance myself in the top 5 and try and give a wide range of books that have different appeal to them. So if you're into topical events, this is definitely one that you may want to check out. And that brings us to number 2, Phantom on the Scan, number 1. So this one is written by Cullen Bunn, who is a master of horror and suspense. This one is a little different from what he normally does. In this one, Matthew is imbued with psychic powers when a comet falls to Earth. The only problem is each use of his psychic abilities draws him closer to death. Meanwhile, all across the world, other psychics are passing away in horrific events, so they decide that they must team up together to find the origins of their powers in order to avoid the same fate. I'm sure this one's going to be a very interesting read. It sounds a little bit like Final Destination mixed with I don't know, kind of like X-Files, I guess. I'm interested in this one. Cullen Bunn always delivers on the horror and suspense. I'm not going to do my normal joke of that I don't like horror, since everybody keeps mocking me for that one. But we will move on to number 1. So number 1 is Jenny Zero number 1. And this one is kind of a mixture of Paris Hilton and Godzilla. Now don't stop the video. Hear me out. So Jenny's father was a superhero who helps fight the kaiju that were infesting the planet. She tried to follow in her father's footsteps. She went into the military, but she washed out. As a result of that, she went into a hard drinking, hard partying life and was pretty dedicated to that. But now the kaiju are back, and she has a difficult decision to make. Does she continue her hard partying ways, or does she save the planet? This one interests me a lot, mostly for the kaiju factor of it, but it's interesting to see how real world events would kind of impact the comic world. Like if a parent were a superhero, would they kind of follow that Paris Hilton lifestyle? So I'm interested to see how this one goes. And that brings us to the final category of Marvel Comics. Coming in at number 3 is Darkhawk number 1. This is the 30th anniversary of the character. Over the course of the last 6 months or so, the meme of the Darkhawk number 1 comic from the 90s has definitely hit big on the internet. People are showing their Darkhawk number 1s. Danny Figueroth, who was the original writer on the series, comes in to write one of the stories on this. Even more important to me, Dan Abnett is writing one of the stories. He did a phenomenal run on Legion of Superheroes in the 90s. He did a great run on Aquaman a couple years ago. Anytime he picks up the pen and puts it to paper, I'm interested to know the story that he's telling. So for those of you who are Darkhawk fans, the Amulet is back. This is a one-shot. It's one that you're going to want to check out. And that brings us to number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy number 13. This is a new team for the Guardians. Some of the more experienced members leave. Some new members come on board. The team also gets a new headquarters. What's most important about this one, as I said, we try and highlight some first appearances and such throughout these, is there's a new villain that arises in this one. When I was paging through this, I caught the last couple pages. I paid particular attention to those. I think that this is the beginning of a wild ride that if you are a Guardians fan or a Marvel Universe fan, you're going to want to check this one out. I think this one's going to have some impact over the next couple of months. You should add this one to your stack today. And that brings us to number 1. Spider-Man Spider Shadow number 1. The creative team on this one is the highlight. The story is also great, but we're going to start with the creators. Chip Zdarsky and Pasquale Ferry are providing the creative juices on this one. Chip has been doing some phenomenal things on Batman Urban Legends and Daredevil as well. So the story for this one is, what if Peter Parker had not forsaken the symbiote? What if he allowed himself to continue down the path and didn't have the doubts that he initially had in the 1980s when he was tied to the symbiote? So he's carrying the burden with this one. He embraces the dark side, and I'm interested to see where Chip goes with this. Chip is always very good at telling character-driven stories, and I want to know how Peter deals with the guilt and everything that the symbiote will no doubt cause him to have. So hopefully you enjoyed this new format for the video series. Like I said, this is the last one we're going to call the High Five. We're going to change it over to the Storm Watch. We're going to have a logo for that here sometime within the next couple of weeks or so. We have an artist working on that one. So let us know what you think of the new name, the Storm Watch. Let us know what you think of the new format. Let us know what you think that people should pay attention to as well. As always, we ask that you LCS, like, comment, and subscribe to your LCS's YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.